and welcome to another episode of Spotlight on Stage. I'm Michelle Eagleton, and this is the place to be if you love theatre. Yes, we shine a light on theatre across Greater Manchester, tell you all about what's going on in the theatre world. We've got some great interviews with stars from the stage and behind the scenes, and also we give you the latest of what's on this week at theatres across our wonderful city. So let's kick off with the latest news for Manchester, and should I say Salford actually, because this is coming from the Lowry, two brilliant productions which are winging their way straight to us. Yes, there's no need to go to Vegas for this one because the theatrical phenomenon, which is the Blue Man Group, is coming to the Lowry, and it's the first time for its Blue Volution World Tour show. Now, this is a great experience. It's of human connection through art, music, comedy, and non-verbal communication. They're world famous, the Blue Man Group, and this is a real global sensation. It's been a long time that we've been waiting for it to return to the UK. And as I say, it's going to be at the Lowry. It's coming from the 2nd to the 6th of October this year. Now, if you've never seen it before, what I can tell you is the Blue Man Favourites, a musical extravaganza from explosive paint drumming, there's comedy antics, and lots of audience interaction. And this time, you got a brand new character called the Rock Star. I am not going to reveal any more, but if you fancy something that is definitely unique and out of this world, then head to see that. Tickets are on sale right now. And talking of the strange and unique, well, there's a particular guy who is coming back to the Lowry as well. Only Human Live is what Darren Brown is bringing to the Lowry, a brand new live show. Now, this is coming next year, so put a date in your diary for this one. It's just been announced, the 2nd to the 13th of September 2025. Now, tickets went on sale on Friday. So you've still got time to get in there, but I think this one is going to be rather special. It's going to launch in High Wycombe in April next year. It gets to us, as I say, in September. And although the content of Only Human is still under wrap, apparently it's guaranteed to give audiences a mind-blowing experience that will take their breath away. Prepare to be astonished. I'm always astonished when it comes to Darren Brown, so I'm definitely going to be heading to that one. So if you want to go, as I say, tickets are on sale now. And if you want to book those tickets, well, you know where to head to our website, ilovemanchester.com/theatre. You can also find out loads more theatre news there too. Now, I do love a good old chant. If you have watched Spotlight on Stage before, you will definitely know that. And this week was brilliant because I got the chance to catch up with one of the stars of the National Theatre's War Horse. And even better, he is a local lad. He's called Ike Bennett, and he is starring as two characters in this brilliant award-winning production. It's coming to the Lowry very, very soon, a couple of weeks' time. It will be here, and I wanted to find out what it's like to be in this show for someone who is northern, comes from round here, and also studied just down the road.
It's always been a story I've been very familiar with since college. I went to Pendleton College in Salford, and I remember it was getting advertised around the Lowry around about 2011 to 2013, but I never had the opportunity to go see it. And like then the film came out, and then just it just became like a snowball effect of like my favorite actor was Kit Harington when he did Game of Thrones, and then I looked at his journey, and he'd been in it as well as the original Albert. And like, it just felt like the right time to like say yes to this one, especially when it came around. Like,
I mean, it's the National Theatre. It doesn't really get any bigger than that. It is incredible. And you said you went to Pendleton College. So many actors that have gone on to do amazing things have gone to Pendleton College. It's like it's like this performing arts school. I feel like we should rename it Fame or something.
Yeah, well, it basically is. Like, if you want to do a college degree that's not centered down south and you're from like the northwest area, Pendleton, it did market itself at the time as like, if you're into musical theatre, you're into performing arts, just come here. And it's all BTEC as well. I think a lot of us were like, what, so we don't have to do any tests? But it was a fantastic experience, like genuinely. And they taught me at the time, because I didn't know that drama schools existed as an entity, like as a uni degree. At first I thought it was something like, and I'm sure it's not the case because I didn't go there, but like if you went to RADA, you'd have to spend out your own pocket to study there. But they taught me about, if you go, you can get grants and you can get it through UCAS. And this is like over 12, 13 years ago. So it literally opened the door to the life I've got today.
I know, and what a life. I mean, gosh, you were in Romeo and Juliet, the Royal Exchange earlier on. You've been in Netflix shows. You're just kind of going bang, 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 bang. But for you, as you said before, this role and this, show itself is really special. And I think it's special because the story has so many elements. I mean, I've been to see it, I've laughed, I've cried, and I've just got so emotional and caught up in it.
Yeah, it is such a whirlwind of the story. That's the first thing I noticed when I read the script. Usually when you get an audition, you read the script and like you just read it sometimes. Sometimes it's like, all right, I can see it from that character's point of view. I can see from maybe what they're trying to do, or like maybe it doesn't touch you at all. But this one, I mean, the writing in itself is so brilliant. I remember finishing it just going like, oh my God, I feel quite emotional. Like, how are they going to even do this on such an epic scale? But, I think when it comes to both world wars, especially World War One as Britain's first taste in modern warfare, it evokes such an evocative feeling of emotion anyway. And, and then you've got the story of Albert trying to find his horse. Like he goes to a war zone to go find his horse, where when we spoke to Michael Mapergo himself, he said over 11 million horses died. So, the chances of him finding his horse, coming back alive, were just like so slim. And I think that's what we love, don't we, in stories, is like when the protagonist succeeds and it's actually a good ending to something that was so horrific, which was the First World War. Like,
I know. And the story of Joey, the horse, you get so attached to him as you're going through it. I mean, what is it like with the puppets? Because I don't even like calling them puppets, because you feel that they're real. It's just an incredible sense of, you forget that people are handling them. Now, in rehearsals, how is that going, working with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're all actors, and obviously they are also getting taught how to puppeteer. So like, it helps them tell the story even more because they're so, they're thinking maybe, and as well, puppeteers are actors as well. But like the people that are working the horses are actors that trained, and it brings it to life so much. I can't describe it. It's like there's a horse in the room. I remember when a few of them got into Top Thorn and Joey in the first week, so we could meet them to see what it was like. And I just couldn't believe it. Like, like the way that they breathe, like their heart, like, and they're constantly doing it, constantly working how a horse would behave. And we've done some research, had little cast field day trips out to the barracks in Hyde Park to see what horses were like. Yeah. I'm not in the scenes with the horses per se, and apart from like a few bits, but what I've seen, it's just sensational. Like, my partner's father was telling me, and this was before I even got the role. Like, he was telling me a few months back, yeah, we saw it in 2013. It was incredible. Like, you forget that there are puppeteers like helping the horse, and I was like, really, that can't be true. Like, how true is that? Then when you're watching it, like, you completely forget they're there. Like, and then that's with the techniques they've been taught by Matt and Lewis. It's literally incredible.
You really do. You really believe that they are real. It is incredible, and the sounds and everything, and wow. But yourself, you mentioned, obviously you don't interact too much with the horses and stuff, but you're Albert's friend, aren't you? Is David?
Yes, David Taylor, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how David's role comes into it and kind of what we're going to see from him.
Sure. So basically, when the audition came through, it was for two. I do play two characters. One's Thomas Bone and one's David Taylor. Thomas Bone is part of the village that Albert's from and had to do a Devonshire accent. But when it came to David Taylor for my second round, they said, come in with whatever accent you feel comfortable in doing. And being a Mancunian lad, I thought, you know, I'd love to bring our home city to this story. So for me, David Taylor is a boy from this area of Salford. He during World War One, 2 years into it, you know, there was a huge sense of doing the right thing for your country. And, you know, you'd hear stories that were propagandized, but they were also true about German soldiers going through Belgium and massacring families. And so that was my reason for David being in the war. It was like, well, I want to protect my family. I want to protect my nation. And I find it quite interesting, me being a black actor as well. Like, what was it like for David growing up in a time that, even though Manchester was a forward-thinking city, like, it was still hard for a lot of black people back then. And that sense of patriotism, saying that he belongs to this country. And he comes to the war thinking, all right, well, it can't be that bad. Like, how bad is it? And then quickly you see how he gets thrown in with it. And him and Albert become friends. Two people from completely two different sides of the country, two completely different demographics, but they, through the means of war, just end up connecting because they've got a lot of similar things and interests, similar humor, and David's a top.
They were so young, weren't they, back then as well? They were like boys. And it is, when you see this, you know, this show, it does make you think, gosh, you know, that whole time was horrendous, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a clip and you can see it off, I can't remember the name. It's a Peter Jackson revival. If you type in World War One Peter Jackson coloured revival, and it's basically real footage from World War One that was colorized. And there's one picture of a boy, and he's walking through the trenches, and he looks up at the camera. And obviously back then they didn't know what cameras were, and he looks at it for a second. But the first thing I noticed is that he's very young. He must be about 16, 17, like, you know, barely left, probably still lived at home, or he's barely even experienced life. But the exhaustion on his face, you know, he's probably walking up and down a 30-mile line, like, to his next destination, not knowing whether he's gonna live or die. And it's just the story's so emotional as well, because they were so young. How many men lost their lives over a war that didn't really need to happen, but it ended up happening, and both on the British and the German side, like, it's horrific. At the same time, there are our little lives, aren't they? You and me probably wouldn't have the life that we have if they didn't make that sacrifice. And thankfully, I mean, we won the war. And I'm saying thankfully from a British perspective. I think all war's bad. But yeah, like, we owe as a nation so much to them. And I think, personally for me, I think sometimes World War One does get glossed over a bit, mainly because of the story of Hitler and the rise of the Nazis. And so it's always good to bring the story back.
Absolutely. And, you know, another thing that I would say about this is, not only is it an emotional, it is a funny play, but it's also, like you say, it's powerful because it's got all of that real history behind it. And I love the fact that you have kept your accent for that role. And a little bird told me that you actually auditioned in Salford for this role. How did that come about? And what was that like?
Your little birdies are well informed. Yeah. It was. I mean, yeah, like, you know, with the rise of self-taping and such, like, it doesn't take much to send off an audition tape. You can literally film it from home. So a lot of actors that I know, myself included, I moved away from London, especially after COVID, because the price of everything was going up. So also at the time as well, you know, you're working, and, like, you would come down to London when it is an audition, but to have it in Salford, yeah, they just said, we're going to Salford Uni, we're preparing for Warhorse. And originally I went in for Albert. And a part of me was a bit like, there's no way I'm going to be cast as Albert. Like, there's way. I mean, we could have, but in my mind, I was a bit like, okay, I'll do it. It's such a big show, and I love the script anyway, so I was always going to audition. And then that also freed me as well, because I was like, I remember being in my bedroom just like practicing with a baby horse, like an invisible baby horse. And then I was like thinking, how tall is a baby horse? Like, how big a horse is like, and then, yeah, I got a stab at the Devonshire accent. I just watched so much Hagrid. I just watched all. You're right, Harry. Like all that stuff.
Who would have thought Hagrid is the go-to person when it comes to practicing accents? There you go. It definitely worked for Ike, though. Brilliant to chat to him. If you want to go and see him and the rest of the cast in that production of Warhorse at the Lowry, it runs from the 18th of September to the 28th of September. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, it's been a little bit quiet at the rest of the theatres for this week. I think it is just the end of the summer holidays, and we're also getting ready for the autumn season. But if you want a closer look of what is coming up at the theatres, then do head to our website. We've got loads of information on there and listings, and of course you can book your all important tickets for Warhorse there too. It's ilovemanchester.com/theatre. I'll be back with more guests on the show next week. Thank you for joining me this week, and thanks to my lovely guest Ike. As I say though, give us a follow, give us a comment. We love hearing from you. Any suggestions, anything that you love or you would like to see, do let us know, and spread the word about Spotlight on Stage. I'm here every Monday with your latest news, what's on, and a bit of theatre chat. So have a great week until I see you next. Bye for now.